Now, let me just say one last thing about this. Since we're at a university, you can create all these jobs and make all these opportunities and pave the way to a brighter future, but we have to do a better job of preparing our young people for it. There is no state with a higher awareness of the connection between improving education and a growing economy than North Carolina. You should all be proud to be in school here because of the consciousness that exists in this state. But we are a long way from where we need to be. Hillary basically wants to do three things in education. One, provide universal preschool to all of our kids so that an increasingly diverse group of American children get off to an even start in school. Secondly, do something drastic to overcome the problems created by No Child Left Behind. Let me say, you will all get this, but all of you want the young people in school coming along behind you to learn at world-class levels, don't you? I mean, you know they're in a global economy, you want them to. I hope you know they can. This is not a political statement, this is a scientific fact. We now have very sophisticated brain imaging technology that can measure the capacity of the human brain. We know that almost 100% of all the young people in this country, without regard to their family income, their first language, or their race, can learn everything they need to know to do well in a global economy. Okay? That's a fact. That's not a political statement. We now have documented proof of that. We know that there's a learning gap between most American students at the 8th and 11th grade, where we have good international tests, and kids from other rich countries in science, math, foreign languages, and technology. We know why it exists. They go to school longer every year. They start the hard courses earlier. They have national standards of excellence they've worked on for decades. And relative to other professions, they pay their teachers and educators much more, train them harder, and retrain them for a lifetime. Okay? So that's the landscape of all the young people coming along behind you. By the way we've always caught up is because of people like you. That is, we have a higher percentage of people going on to four-year colleges, so we sort of catch up. But the reason that we got this gap is that. What's wrong with No Child Left Behind? It says we're going to close this gap by having you give your kids 5 tests, 5 years in a row, and giving you federal money based on how you do on the test. This is not going to work. Why? First of all, 80% of all the schools in America have already cut back on history, on economics, on music, on the arts. They have degraded the quality of education because this thing's not funded. Secondly, if you wanted to use a test, you'd pick a hard test with a high score, and it'd be kind of like a basketball team trying to get into the NCAA from a small school the first time. You say, I don't care if it takes us 10 years. We will be gaining on them every year, right? If you did that, you would lose all your federal money. The school budget would collapse. If you pick an easier test with a low score, you'll get the check every year, but the students and the teachers and the parents and the principals will hate it. You spend all your time teaching the test, and over time the kids learn less, not more. This doesn't work, and Hillary will change it. And finally, we got to make it possible for every young American to do what you're doing. There is an iron law of economics for young people in America today. If you get a high school diploma and at least 2 years of education after high school, your chances of getting a job with a rising income are better than 50-50. If you don't, they're less. Now, can you beat the odds both ways? Sure. You got a 4-foot vertical jump, you can play basketball. And you might have a graduate degree in information technology and have your job outsourced. You might go down the other way. But you have to play the odds, which means we have to make college affordable, and it's steadily becoming more unaffordable for millions of Americans. So, here's Hillary's position. Number one, raise the current tuition tax credit from $1,650 to $3,500 a year. Number two, raise the Pell Grants every year to keep up with inflation and college costs. Number three, crack down on the abuses of these private student loan companies that are ripping people off at 14, 16, 18% interest a year. Let me tell you something. When Hillary and I were in college, we were poor as church mice. I had loans up to my ears and 6 jobs by the time I was in law school. Now, to be fair, I never had more than 3 at once. But you know something? I was the first person in my family to go to college. My family had no money. My state was the second poorest state in America, but my government loaned me money at 2% interest. You know what that says to a young person? And believe me, even my mama never thought I'd be president. I was just some kid trying to get through, you know. Do you know what it says to have your government say, I value your future? Why in the world are we giving taxpayer guarantees to people that charge you 16% when we could loan you the money directly at much less? When we did that when I was president, we had 10 million more young people getting help. They saved $1,300 on every 10,000 bucks they had to repay, and the taxpayers saved money because people like you did not default on their loans. And she will take us back to that. Now, just 2 more things. She believes if you get out of school and you're not going to get rich because you're in public service, if you're a teacher, a nurse, a police officer, a fireman, a mental health worker, your service should repay your loan, and every year you serve, you should knock some of that loan off. Now, this is one thing you do not have to take Hillary's word for, because she is the only person in this race that's done anything to make college more affordable. Last year, near the end of the year, she left the campaign trail, went back to Congress to pass a bill she sponsored called the Student Borrower's Bill of Rights. Here's what it says. It says, now when you finish here, no matter how much you borrow or how little you make, you cannot be required to pay more than a certain small percentage of your income over a longer period of time. Now, why is this important? Today in America, thousands of young people are dropping out of college because they say, I cannot possibly borrow $10,000 or $20,000 more dollars. I know what I'm going to make when I get out of here. I can't make the payments. You got thousands of people begging it. This is nuts. A college education is worth well over $1 million to you over your lifetime, and therefore well over $1 million to all the rest of us who share this country with you. It is crazy. Now, because of this bill, no young American, no matter how much they borrow or how little they make, will ever have to drop out of college again because they're afraid to borrow a little more. That's a good reason to vote for her for president. That's what you hire a president to do.